If you're over 60 and you're flying this summer, the bag in your closet could cost you $130 you weren't planning to spend. Not for a checked bag, not for an upgrade, for new rules taking effect June 1st that almost nobody our age has been told about. 3 weeks ago at Dallas-Fort Worth, a 71-year-old grandmother had her carry-on opened on the jet bridge in front of 40 boarding passengers. The item the agent removed was something she'd traveled with safely for 2 years. She made the flight. Her bag did not. Quick question before we start. Look at the carry-on you used on your last flight. When did you last actually measure it? Hold that answer in your head. By Rule 7, you'll understand why it matters more in 2026 than it ever has before. 7 rules. Number 5 is the one I watch travelers our age get wrong on every flight. Number 1. That one activates a federal program almost nobody over 60 has ever used. Let's go. Rule 7. The bag that flew for 10 years just stopped fitting. That metal frame at the gate, the sizer you've walked past 100 times without a second look, in 2026, gate agents are actually using it. And what gets measured is not what's inside your bag. The legal size hasn't changed since 2008. 22 inches long, 14 wide, 9 deep. American, Delta, United, JetBlue, and Alaska all list the same numbers. What changed is the measurement itself. Wheels are included. Handles fully extended are included. Side pockets bulging with a paperback and a Ziploc of trail mix included. The interior capacity is irrelevant. What gets measured is the total outside shape of the bag, fully packed. Eleanor in Tucson flew the same roller bag twice a year for 8 years. In March at Sky Harbor, the same bag suddenly wouldn't fit. The handle no longer fully retracted. The side pocket had her reading glasses and a magazine in it. $40 gate check fee. Same bag, same trip she'd taken 16 times before. The reason this caught her, and will catch you, is that the bag itself slowly changes over the years. Handles loosen, pockets stretch, zippers don't fully close anymore. Your bag passed in 2018. That doesn't mean it passes today. Solution. Measure your bag at home, fully packed, handle up, every pocket loaded the way you actually pack. If you're within an inch of the limit, you're already over. Travel with the expansion zipper closed unless you've paid for a checked bag. The next one is the trap on the ticket itself. Rule 6. The cheap fare that wasn't. $65. That's what you'll pay at the gate to bring a roller bag onto a United flight if your ticket is basic economy. Here's how this catches travelers our age. You found the cheap fare. You saved $40. You felt smart. You packed the same carry-on you've flown with for 15 years. You walked to the gate, and then you discovered that on United Basic Economy, you don't get a carry-on at all. One personal item under the seat. That is it. American Basic Economy is similar. You pay $35 to $45 for the carry-on. Delta is the only one of the big three that still includes a full carry-on on its cheapest fare. JetBlue's Blue Basic includes one as well. The fee structure punishes lateness. Online when you book, $35. At the check-in counter, $40. At the gate with 200 people behind you, $65 to $75 per bag per direction. Round trip for 2 travelers, that's potentially $300 you didn't see coming on a flight you thought was a bargain. Robert booked the cheapest United flight to see his grandchildren in Denver, saved $52 on the base fare, paid $65 at the gate going out, paid $65 again on the way back. Total cost of saving $52, $78 more than the regular fare would have cost him. Solution. Before you confirm any booking, type one question into the airline's chat or search bar. Does this fare include a carry-on bag? It takes 30 seconds and saves up to $130 a trip. The next one is a rule that doesn't exist, but seniors follow anyway. Rule 5. The pill bottle myth. I want to put this one to rest because I see travelers our age panic at security over a rule that isn't real. TSA does not require you to keep your medications in original prescription bottles for domestic flights. Not for pills, not for tablets, not for capsules. You can use a weekly pill organizer, a daily sorter, a small zip pouch labeled with masking tape, whatever system your hands and your eyes work with. The misconception spreads because well-meaning friends pass it on. Your daughter heard it from someone at her office. Your neighbor was told by a TSA agent who was actually talking about international travel. Once it's in the family group chat, it's hard to undo. Here's the part that does matter. Some states have their own labeling laws. That's a state issue, not a TSA issue. And it would only apply if you were stopped by local law enforcement, not federal screening. For international travel, original packaging can matter at customs at your destination. That's a customs issue at the other end of the flight, not a TSA issue at your departure gate. Mary in Spokane used the same weekly pill organizer for 9 years. A friend told her TSA required original bottles. She repacked 7 prescription containers into her carry-on for a flight to Phoenix. They tipped over mid-flight. She spent her first evening sorting pills on a hotel bed. She never needed to do any of it. A separate note on liquids. Liquid medications are exempt from the 311 rule, but they have to be declared. Solution: use the pill organizer that works for you. If you carry liquid medications, say this at the start of screening. I have medically necessary liquids to declare before your bag goes onto the conveyor, not after. Now, back to that gate at DFW. Rule 4. The rule that changed 3 weeks ago: spare lithium batteries, power banks, portable phone chargers, battery cases. Any of these items in 2026 can never travel in cargo. Not in your big checked bag at the ticket counter. Not in your carry-on if it gets gate checked at the jet bridge. Spare batteries ride in the cabin with you. In the personal item, under the seat. Always. This isn't a brand new TSA rule. The federal lithium and cargo prohibition has existed for years. What changed on May 1st, 2026 is enforcement. American Airlines now caps spare power banks at 2 per passenger, each under 100 watt-hours, kept accessible in the cabin. No overhead bins, no charging in flight. Other airlines are tightening their rules in the same direction. The trigger was the FAA logging 97 lithium battery incidents on U.S. aircraft in 2025. 82 of those were on passenger planes. Most were cheap power banks that overheated. The trap that catches our generation is invisible. Your roller bag gets gate checked because the overhead bins are full. You hand it over without thinking. The power bank is still in the front pocket where it's lived for 2 years. The bag rides in cargo. The crew has now been trained to refuse exactly this situation, and if they catch it on a packed jet bridge, they'll delay everyone behind you. The grandmother at DFW 3 weeks ago, that was her exact situation. Her power bank had been in her bag's front pocket since her grandson set it up for her in 2024. The gate agent caught it. The crew did its job. She made the flight. Her bag did not. Solution: the moment you sit down at the gate, take any power bank or spare battery out of your roller bag and put it in the personal item that stays under the seat. If your bag does get gate checked later, say, "I need to remove a battery before this goes in cargo," and the crew will wait the 10 seconds it takes. How many of these have caught you off guard already? Most travelers our age miss 4 or 5 before they realize it. Hit subscribe so the next one doesn't catch you either. The 3 rules coming up are the ones that have cost seniors the most this year. Now, that question I asked you at the start. Rule 3, the license that quietly stopped working. Take out your driver's license. Look at the top right corner. Is there a star? If there's no star, your license stopped working for air travel on May 7th, 2025, when real ID enforcement began. And on February 1st, 2026, the federal government added the cost. Without a real ID or a U.S. passport, every TSA checkpoint will now charge you $45 for an alternative identity check called TSA Confirm ID. It's valid for 10 days. It takes longer at the checkpoint. You pay it again on your next trip. TSA says more than 94% of passengers already have a real ID or an acceptable alternative. The 6% who don't are disproportionately older Americans who haven't been to the DMV in 5 or 6 years. If you renewed your license before 2020, there's a real chance the star isn't there yet. Patricia in Charlotte had the same driver's license since 2019. It didn't expire until 2028. Nothing seemed wrong with it. In February, on her flight to see her sister, she paid the $45. On the return flight, she paid the $45 again. $90 to verify the identity of a 72-year-old retired school principal who has lived at the same address since 1991. The DMV part takes one visit, and the documents are standard: birth certificate, social security card, 2 proofs of address. A recent utility bill counts. Solution: look at your license today. If there's no star, either visit your DMV and say, "I'd like to upgrade to a real ID-compliant license," or just travel with your U.S. passport instead. The passport is always accepted. The next one is about a sentence you've heard for years, and a sentence you've never been told. Rule 2. The bag closest to your seat is the wrong bag. You've heard that the overhead bin near your seat is the goal. It isn't. The overhead is a gamble. Bins closest to your seat fill first. Late boarders push your carry-on 3 or 4 rows back. If the seatbelt sign comes on mid-flight, that overhead stays closed. For the crew, too. Federal protocol. The only bag guaranteed within arm's reach for every minute of the flight is the personal item under the seat in front of you. For travelers our age, this matters more than it does for anyone else on the plane. Heart medication, reading glasses, hearing aid batteries, travel documents, CPAP supplies, the small snack you need to take pills with, a phone charging cable. None of these can wait for turbulence to clear, and turbulence in 2026 is statistically more frequent than it was a decade ago. Severe chop over the Rockies last summer kept the crew in their jump seats for 40 minutes on a Salt Lake City flight. A 74-year-old passenger I spoke with afterwards had his daily heart medication 3 rows back in his roller bag. He waited the full 40 minutes. On his next flight, everything essential rode under the seat with him. The mindset shift is small but powerful. Treat the roller bag the way you'd treat checked luggage that just happens to be in the cabin. Accessible at origin, accessible at destination. That's it. Solution. Move everything you can't be without for 90 minutes into the personal item under the seat. Medication, documents, phone, glasses, snacks, spare batteries. If your carry-on gets gate-checked, say, "I need to grab a few items first," and the crew will wait while you transfer the essentials. Stay with me. This last one is the reason I made this video. Rule 1. The phone number almost no senior has ever called. 1-855-787-2227. Write it down. That's the phone number for TSA Cares, a federal program built into the Air Carrier Access Act that almost no traveler over 60 has ever used. Here's what it does. You call 72 hours before your flight. You tell them what you need help with. Mobility, medical equipment, a CPAP, a wheelchair from check-in all the way to the aircraft door, extra time at screening, a quiet area to take medication, help with a hidden disability, including memory or vision issues you don't want to explain to a stranger at a security line. A passenger support specialist is then activated at your departure airport. They meet you at the curb or at the ticket counter. They walk you through. They stay with you through security. They get you to the gate. Free, federal, built into the law since 1986. 40 years, and most of us have never heard of it. The reason almost nobody our age uses this is generational. We were raised not to ask for help. We were raised to manage. We were raised to figure it out ourselves. And the airport in 2026 is not the airport we figured out in 1985. The screening is different. The lines are different. The technology is different. Asking for help here is not weakness. It is good travel planning, the same way you'd ask a younger relative which exit to take off a highway you haven't driven in years. After James's hip surgery in February, his daughter called this number on his behalf. A specialist met him at the curb at Sky Harbor, walked him through check-in, through security, to the gate, stayed with him until he boarded. He made it to his granddaughter's graduation. He hasn't flown without calling first since. Solution: call 1-855-787-2227 72 hours before your next flight and say, "I'd like to request TSA Cares assistance for my flight on date you booked." From mention your airport to destination airport. They take it from there. 7 rules that protect your money, your medication, and your dignity at the gate. Save this video. Send it to the friend who's flying next month. And I'll see you in the next one, where one line of small print on your boarding pass changes everything.